And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite, the Streisand effect, because, well, you might notice that I'm not currently wearing a hat. Since the last time we were on the show, was wearing the Santa Pimp hat, and 120 compliments on the overall outfit. Still doesn't break a record, but which means I'm back to wearing my usual blue Ride for Roswell hat, because fuck cancer. And part of this is follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. Good to be back with you all. In the what's finally turned into winter, sort of, over here in the Buffalo market, we actually do have snow that's staying for longer than 24 hours. So, go us, I guess, is what it is. Wherever you are, I hope that things are going well for you at the moment. It is into the new year, so we hope that everybody had themselves a safe New Year celebration, whatever that entailed. From the Midwest of the U.S., joining us tonight, which surprises the shit out of us, Bridget Fitch. Good evening.
Bridget.
Hey, can you not hear me?
No, we hear you perfectly fine. She's just being an ass.
Cheering.
And she's cheering.
I'm checking out what Shujin had asked me about, and apparently Nassau County in New York is not complying, so yeah.
Oh, so we will have something to discuss. Great.
Yeah.
And from the left coast of the U.S., Io Cloud has made it back. Hi. Good evening, hon.
Bridget. I'm so happy you're here, Bridget. You have no idea.
Aww. I guess I was missed. Oh my gosh.
Bridget.
Yeah. Of course, we typically concern ourselves over you when you're not here, so it's good to have you back.
Well, too much of the time, life just gets in the way and stuff.
Oh, we know. We know all too well. Yeah, for what it's worth, for those that have been following me over on my personal Discord server and seen the pictures of what it's been like the last couple of days during this week, I've had a couple of days where I'm glad I was not doing any DJ work for a couple of those days, because, I was just tired. Just too many people doing too much stupidity stuff and not fun. But, them's the jobs. And I keep my girlish figure in the off season, so, I guess there's something to be said for it.
Yeah.
So, as always, if you'd like to be joining us live, and of course we would sincerely like for you to be able to do that, you can join us on YouTube as we would do that. 12:05 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday mornings. And the reason why I did it that way is because I wanted to be running counterculture to Coast AM with Art Bell. Even though Art Bell is not doing it anymore because he's medically stable, I believe is the correct term for it.
What did he do?
He ceased to be. He joined the choir invisible. He shuffled off the mortal coil. He is an ex-believer in all things. So I wanted to specifically be running counter to that. And I love thinking about that because every once in a while I listen to the show that I was on with Sam and Becky over there at Ask an Atheist over at Tacoma, Washington. And I listen every once in a while because I run on Vanity, and I listen to it again. And I tell him that that's exactly the reason why I wanted to run the show when I do. And he just laughs really hard at that because Sam was just like, it took him a hot second to actually get it, and it was like one of those hand grenade jokes where it's just like you could almost hear him like blink and do a double take, and finally it's just uproarious laughter. It's just too much fun.
So I'm being very domestic right now. I am crocheting a blanket. My third blanket in less than that many weeks. It's star shaped. It's supernova star shaped. But instead of it being out of acrylic, which the first two are, this one is being made out of cotton. Why cotton? Because California. So hot. I want something to sleep under when it comes to summer.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you join us live, you can be part of the live chat over there on the screen for yourself. You will see it over there. And I have to keep reminding myself every once in a while that I've yet to figure out how to get my camera flipped correctly because Discord's a tool. We'll just say Discord's a tool. That's why the video is the way that it is. So yeah, you can join us over there. Stephanie, good morning. Welcome back. And of course, you will be able to see the thingamabobby over on Blue Sky that let everybody know that, you know, we're here. Hi. You can join us. It'd be wonderful to have you. Yeah, as far as topic tonight, yeah, it is going to be a lot more lighthearted than it's been, which, I mean, we could probably use that going into the new year. I didn't do much. I was home with the kiddo, and you know he's back from college, doing a wonderful job. He's already run the numbers, and if he keeps the way he's going, he is going to be graduating summa cum laude. What's the highest one?
Valedictorian.
No, Magna, I think. And then Summa, but I'm not. But don't quote me on that. I don't know.
Well, whichever the one, because I don't speak Latin. The only thing in Latin that I speak is go the fuck away with Latin. I don't know Latin. My mother learned Latin because, you know, Catholic high school in the 50s. Mm-hmm. What you did. Which, come to think of it, all these days later, it seems like a really bad idea that you taught kids how to speak Latin. I mean, if you didn't want them practicing witchcraft and sorcery, I mean, why teach them all the spells and the language?
Okay, the summa cum laude is the highest, and then there's Magna.
Okay, so yeah, he's figuring the numbers that summa cum laude. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, he's doing a really great job. Wow, man, just amazing.
So I actually managed to finish a scarf for them. It's very rainbow. I call it Rainbow Barf. Or Sonic Rainbow. You've seen it.
Yeah, I did.
Uh-huh. I just have to package it up and get it to the mailbox.
And for what it's worth, if I had it in me, I'd actually find over on YouTube the Sonic Rainboom just to have fun at people and play the video in like a little corner or something. But no, no, not happening right now. So it is all good. Now, Stephanie had pointed out it's 5:05 a.m. UK time. Yes, currently, when things get a little bit on the weird side, time gets weird because daylight savings time and standard time, and it's just, I would really like for it to just be done. But
if I could save time in a bottle, I'd have spice to use.
The spice must flow. Yeah, it's one of those things. And Stephanie's also pointed out, horses sweat, gentlemen perspire, ladies glow. I will take a little bit of umbrage at that. Horses sweat, yes, but they froth. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with that one. You get up close and personal with a horse that's sweating. It's frothing. It's kind of hard to say otherwise.
Frothing at the bit.
Yep. And I'm just realizing my camera is a little bit off. There we go. That's better. since last we've discussed, I now have a different monitor setup. My 1080p widescreen is still in front of me, but I now have a second 1080p widescreen over there for myself, which is kind of making me feel like I'm in a cave. Previously, the other monitor was one of those square 4x3s, but I get the power supply now, so I can do my thing over on that side too. Which sucks because the boom arm for my microphone is right in the line of my eyesight, which sucks. But you know what? That's fine. It's all good. And I will go ahead and I will say, part of the reason for that is because of Unrenewed Tech, who is not currently here at the moment. You pissant. And so, just want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. Thanks, pissant. Appreciate it. That's as good as I'm going to do for the Tony Stark impersonation. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed that he isn't here. I was going to razz him.
That's all right. You can save it up, just jot it down, and you can do it later. And Stephanie is also correcting me that it's an old quote. Think Downtown Abbey. I try not to. I'm getting away with that one because just because. And I will admit that there are only a handful of shows from the UK that I've absolutely adored watching. One of them is, of course, Are You Being Served? The other being, and it's criminal that it didn't go on longer, but I understand the why, which was Flowery Twats. Faulty Towers. Sorry.
Let's see. Faulty Towers.
Faulty Towers.
Faulty Towers, Monty Python, Doctor Who, Red Dwarf, Blake Seven. Oh shoot! What is the name of that soap opera? Starts with Coronation Street. That's soap opera, and all sorts of other British things. Why? Because Canadian. Why? Because CBC programming had a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are basically the same country, just separated with currency.
Excuse me?
I mean, you guys use the same language. I mean, spelling-wise, Middle East, so, it's kind of the way it worked.
Canada uses British spelling, American vocabulary, a mashup between the two for measuring systems, no matter what the temperature or distance or whatever, except when it comes to driving. Our distances when it comes to driving are not in miles or kilometers, it's in hours. Oh yeah, Vancouver's only about 4 days from Toronto.
Yeah.
Vancouver's 24 hours from Calgary.
And none of it's forever because nobody wants to go there.
Yeah, don't remind me.
So,
but yeah, we do our measurements in time on the road.
Perfectly reasonable. For those of you that want to know, how do you really piss off a Canadian? Ask them this simple question. How many colored pencils did you go through trying to color in none of it? Trust me, they will be pissed off.
0, because none of it didn't exist when I was going to school. And we didn't have to color in the territories.
There you go.
Just outline them.
So, we'll go ahead. We'll get everything rolling over here because we're going to have a little bit more fun than normal, which is perfectly fine by everybody, I think. It seems like a good way to kick off the week best we can.
The year.
The best we can. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, I'm going to go ahead and get you started with your 5-minute freestyle, which starts right now. Technology. Now, I am actually kind of disappointed that Tech isn't here for this one because I kind of get the funny feeling that he would definitely be just, yep. There are a whole bunch of different ways that people think about technology. And one of the things that has been a true annoyance, never mind this whole thing about what people are calling AI, artificial intelligence, which it's not. I mean, let's be frank about this one. It's not. It's machine learning isn't exactly quite the right way of describing it, but artificial intelligence, it's not. But if there's one thing that someone who has worked in the tech industry will tell you, KISS is the easiest and it is the best. KISS is an acronym. Keep it simple, stupid. There's a reason for that. There's a really good reason for that. The more technology advances, the easier it is to screw with it. Now, there are going to be some people that are going to be like, well, I mean, the more it advances, the more robust it gets. I mean, how hard could it be? You poor summer child. You just don't understand. One of the big things that has been coming out over the last 10, I don't even know how long it's been, the so-called Internet of Things. The idea that every device could be smart-enabled, whatever that term means to whatever company is trying to peddle it, and everything should be interconnected. It should be able to talk to everything else in your home or externally in order for you to have complete control over everything. So, for instance, if you are home and you had one of these wireless devices that has the ability of controlling a whole bunch of other things, you could, as an example, give it a command and it will turn on your home theater system, figure out what time it is, move the window blinds and cover the sun out the side, change the lighting in the room, lower it, maybe even change the temperature, meaning the color, of the lights, turn on your 7.1 surround sound system, and get everything ready for you to just sit back, relax, and enjoy. Maybe even inclusively set your phone to do not disturb for whatever time frame it's going to be. Maybe even change the thermostat also. Maybe raise it or lower it, depending as to how you want to do things. And it really doesn't much matter. It's all what you want it to do. And there are some really cool conveniences for that. But why? See, the pause this time was intentional. And I want you to think about that. Yes, it is terribly convenient to be able to give just, one simple instruction and all these different things go off and do their thing. Perfectly fine. And I get that. But you see, from the technologist's point of view, all this grandiose, almost magical stuff, hey, that's cool, whiz bang, jingly keys, cool. But the people that actually support this stuff are the ones who know. You got a simple deadbolt on your door with no battery to it. You have a thermostat that's basically just a mercury switch. You have to set it yourself. You have lights where the most technological part about it is a dimmer slider on it. And why? Because it can't be messed around with externally. Our houses these days have got network access because of whatever wire it's bringing it in on, or maybe wirelessly. Do you really want to have somebody be able to get in there, change things around, lock things up? While you're on vacation, for instance, set your thermostat to as hot as it will go and stay there for the entire 2 weeks that you're gone on vacation for you to come back to a $500 heating bill? I don't think so. So if you want to have all these cool whiz-bangy things, that's cool, that's great. But if you want to be something resembling safe and not have to worry about people getting information that you don't want to share, maybe, just maybe, make the most technologically advanced item that you've got a baby monitor. And even then, maybe don't really use it unless you absolutely have to. Am I paranoid? Maybe just a little bit. But then again, I also don't have people talking through a Roomba speaker and giving me ideas as to how I should send them money so that they don't release audio recordings that they gained from it. And for the record, by the way, now that that's all done, yeah, that is something that has happened. By the way, people have played sounds through Roombas because they have speakers and gained access to webcams because they're Wi-Fi cameras for a house or nanny cameras and that kind of thing, and gotten compromising information. And, yeah, you hack somebody's system so that they can open the garage door from the automated system. Yeah, that's not a good look.
Hey, Google, Lumos.
Fortunately, all of my sound is through my earbuds, which means my phone can't hear you. Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Siri. Hey,
Fart.
Siri. Lumos.
There you go. If I remember right, I don't remember if it's Siri or if it's Alexa. It's got the fart thing. So there you go.
Hey, Siri. Fart.
No.
Hey, Siri. Beatbox.
Here's what I've been practicing. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots. I could do this all day. Cats and boots and 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 cats.
You know what? Fine. Just one more. Hey, Google. Give me a beat.
I've been waiting for you to ask.
Yes, they're cute. But that's about as technological as I get with mine. That being the case...
We came back from vacation, and a friend of ours actually had to lock our door because we forgot to lock our door on the way out. We weren't sure if one of us had. And it's one of those electronic security locks. All you had to do was press a button and turn the knob. It would have been locked. So he actually used the old deadbolt.
As you should.
We had to break into our place.
You know, there's something to be said for learning how to do that for yourself, because if nothing else, that's about as white hat hacker as you can get. So, good on you. So let's get rolling over here because we got things to do. It'll be time for the horrible scopes. So for those of you that know what your astrological sign is, cool. Those of you that don't, I don't care how you do it. You can figure it out for yourself. If you want to do it randomly and just roll a die, you can ask the nice guys over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia to sell you one with the cute squills, because those are adorable and they can sell them, and maybe they can even ship them to you. I don't know. You're gonna have to ask with them. That's Heart of the Game Fredonia. Nice guys, they haven't sent us a cease and desist letter yet, so we're doing something right. Hail, hail, Fredonia, home of the Blue Devil. They claim that they have a mimic in the window. I've not sure that I've seen it, but then again, I'm still me. So that's all good.
Are you sure of that?
Sure. I'm going with that. Now, normally, there's a topic a running theme throughout the scopes, and for those of you wanting to follow along with it, we just like to say, you're welcome. We're touring through the villain archives to see who you're best opposed to. Or maybe you're conspiring with them. Would we even know if you were? Aries. If there was a choice for a dapper but deadly, it's likely hard to outshine Professor Radigan from The Great Mouse Detective, voiced by one of the greatest evil voices known, a one Mr. Vincent Price. He's forever angry because everyone thinks he's a rat, but he's actually a mouse, a rather rotund mouse, but still a mouse. So this week, there's nothing wrong with being a little portly to show that you've got some wealth. But remember, if your arch nemesis is in better shape than you are, you might have a bad day.
So who's up?
You are.
Okay, Taurus. If we're going to judge a villain on their voice actors, then we're about to have some serious Kleenex moments. As a monstrous twist reveal in Wreck-It Ralph, we find out that King Candy is actually the villain. Voiced by Mr. Alan Tudyk, the villainy is truly terrifying as you watch the movie multiple times. So this week, if you see someone slurping on a candy cane, do not say to them, "I am a leaf on the wind." You won't live to regret it.
I'm a leaf on the wind. See how I. Gemini, your villain comes from a fairly problematic source, but can you be easily defeated? The Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland seems to be a hammer in search of a nail. And by hammer, we mean axe, and by nail, we mean someone's neck. Off with their heads! She's vain and pretty, and so full of herself that she forgets that a far less complicated game mechanic can end her. So this week, remember that scissors beats paper. Alternatively, so does magnifying lens. So use them both to your benefit. And like I said, off with their heads.
Cancer Moon Child, would you look at that? A villain who discovered the old proverb, beware of what you wish, you might just get it. The amazingly short-sighted and hubristically challenged Jafar from Aladdin. How he got a parrot without having a pirate pedigree is anyone's guess, and worse yet, why he didn't strangle the damned bird for his voice alone defies explanation. So this week, summer is coming up before you know it. Start making a Sultana's silk outfit so you have something to wear to the beach.
Leo, if you thought we were only taking on Disney villains, well, yeah, it kind of worked out that way. So your being is gifted, even the right word for this? You get General Grievous from the Star Wars universe. The fact that he has a collection of, at minimum, 4 lightsabers is nothing short of miraculous. But that he can spin them like a whirling dervish and carve up the ground is just short-sighted as hell. So this week, if you want to beat the general in one-on-one lightsaber battle, just get him on an outcropping of stone and wait for him to break all the flooring under himself. Gravity can be your friend.
Gravity is a harsh mistress. Virgo! Going sideways from Star Wars, you've gained a follower from The Mandalorian in the form of Moff Gideon. He is ruthless, conniving, has long believed that overkill is underutilized, and is possibly pants-shittingly terrified of our dear friend Luke Skywalker. So this week, if you want to kill Gideon, it'll take a wheelchair, a canister of oxygen, and a high explosive to detonate it all. Or maybe, he'll just turn into Harvey Dent. Something's wrong there.
Libra, your villain can be best described as mad. Meet Merlin's almost equal Madame Mim from The Sword and the Stone. Yes, it's a semi-recent retelling of the Arthur fable, but with some interesting wizard warfare. So this week, do you know how to defeat a wizard that changes into a fire-breathing dragon? Ask the Martians from War of the Worlds. Right, you can't because the entire invading force is all dead.
Scorpio, if we told you Mother Gothel was a horrible mother, you'd agree with us, right? Of course you would, because the villain from Tangled is only interested in her own life and health, and her daughter is just a vehicle to continue it. So this week, what do you mean you've never seen that movie? What kind of a heathen are you even? Oh, you're just trying to out-villain your other villains? Okay, you know what? Not bad. Almost had us going there for a second.
Mother knows best. Sagittarius. When your villain name is literally the Evil Queen, you've got a certain presence to uphold. In the story of Snow White, she's vain enough to sanction murder for hire, and with enough misplaced trust to believe that her underling wouldn't defy her, thus proving if you want something done right, just do it yourself. So this week, just get out there and do it yourself. I mean, it's a simple idea, right? You can do it, right?
One would expect. And covering all bases, by the way, Unbeknown Tech, good to see you over in the he's over in the chat because he's been tired, and I totally get that. And so you know about it, Tech. Again, thank you for helping me get the monitor up and running, and I made specific mention about you in the 5 minutes. So there you go. Capricorn. There are various terms we could use for your villain. Bitch being one that we'd like to use, but technically can't because she's human and not canine. Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians just wanted to be dressed in the most over-the-top fur jacket because, I mean, she wanted... Okay, really don't know why. We just know that was her whole reason for wanting Pongo and Perdita and their pups. So this week, let's be real here. The only way for them to have 100 pups would for there to be, well, let's not get graphic here and just say that's a lot of breeding time, okay? Right?
Aquarius. We'll level with you. We're not really familiar with your villain from the Black Cauldron, the Horned King. He looks like a cross between the Red Skull and Skeletor, but with no magical ram-headed staff. On the bright side, he doesn't sound like Starscream either. So this week, watch the movie and write a report on it for us to understand it, because we can't be bothered to watch it ourselves.
Yeah.
Pisces. And finally, we're back to the Star Wars universe and bringing you a former Jedi Padawan turned assassin. No, it's not Anakin or Vader. But she was trained in the ways of the dark side by Count Dooku. Asajj Ventress turned out to be pretty good at what she did, but not good enough. Because it wasn't her that killed Dooku. If she was a better trained killer, maybe, just maybe, she'd be taken over and been the Emperor's right hand instead. So this week, being the right hand in the Star Wars universe tends to be a bad thing. They tend to get chopped off. Maybe don't try so hard to be that high in the organization.
Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, don't care, because you didn't help, and I did this all myself yet again, and stone cold sober. Trust me, after the week that I've had, this was a slog getting done, but I still did it.
Yeah, I was watching at the event last night and going, Shoo, I can see you typing. Hurry it up.
Yeah, that helps. But, of course, if you'd like to get something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else, you can bribe me by asking, because I operate very heavily on vanity, or literally bribe me over the Ko-fi page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. As always, I'll have these posted online at the end of the week. Tumblr, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky, and, of course, to Ko-fi, because it seems only fair. And, as always, thank you for being part of everything. Very cool of you. This is episode 522 on the docket, Your Honor, A Good Christian's Life. After we got done with our show last week, ex-President James Carter died, 100 years old. And it's fair to say the man's legacy was most assuredly not his presidency. He did a lot of good things. He tried to do a lot of good things while he was in office. But he is definitely best known for the stuff that he did outside of that 4-year term. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we know, what we remember, what he's known for, and on top of it all, what we would really like to see in a leader of people, because he definitely qualified as someone who was worth following. So let's start off with a very easy item. There is a lot of yelling and screaming and barking and moaning about the fact that flags are at half-staff. At least will be for a little while yet, and we'll kind of explain about that in just a couple of seconds. Bridget, we were talking about this one just a little bit before show. You want to fill folks in on the whole thing about there being the American flags being lowered to half-staff after a presidential death, and a little bit about what you do know.
Yes, the flags are lowered to half-staff by presidential proclamation. The can't talk. President Eisenhower signed on March 1st in 1954 because there was no general protocol for it at the time. But, a president, can proclaim a national period of mourning for certain events. And, the standard is 30 days for, either a president or a former president, 10 days for a vice president or former vice president, and so on. The proclamation was signed to last until January 28th for President Carter. And apparently Tito has a huge problem with this, and so he's yelling and screaming about how it's not right that the flags are going to be at half-staff when he's inaugurated, and blah, blah, blah.
Yes, the Mango Mussolini's throwing a temper tantrum.
He's throwing a temper tantrum. But the thing about it is there's nothing he can do about it until he's sworn into office. And then if he wants to, he can, make a proclamation, raise him back up. And there's nothing that can, it would be tacky and shoddy, but yeah, he can do that. And he probably will, because he's
him.
petty.
Yeah. Now
he's petty that way.
Yeah,
but there's precedent for it before, because when Nixon was sworn in, the flags, were at half-staff because President Truman had died, and so he didn't pitch a shit fit or anything like that, and they were at half-staff when he was sworn in. So no big deal. But Trump's making it a big deal. So.
Yeah.
Because everything's all about him.
Yeah. One of the other things that I asked about was, we know full well that in civilian life, because the vast majority of us are civilians, that's what folks are expected to do. And we expect to see that of various government agencies. Where it comes to the military, though, like I was saying before, you've got you've got a hell of a lot more knowledge than what we would have. But that's not something where you can just decide, I'm not going to follow through on that, where the general public, if they decided that they wanted to keep their flags up, it would be gauche and uncouth, but they're a private citizen, they could pretty well do it. On a military base, it don't exactly work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't, and that would apply to, any embassies that we have overseas, any territories that we have, any governmental agencies, properties, Navy ships, that kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see what happens after the inauguration, because I don't know if they're still going to go by the original proclamation, or if just, Trump's word is enough to make them have to raise them. I don't know. I've not seen this before.
Nobody has. And
but normally what the protocol would be to raise the flag briskly and then slowly and ceremoniously lower it to half staff. And that's, the way that happens on military installations. But I did find an interesting article that Nassau County, Long Island, they have not lowered their flags to half staff, and the media tried to reach out Friday to get a statement. It was no comment. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for full disclosure, I did not grow up in Nassau County. I grew up in Suffolk County, which is just next door. And for those of you that are playing bingo, if you look at the map of New York State, you'll see the little island at the bottom jutting out towards, the water. That little fishy shaped thing. If you go from the far eastern part, that's the part of Long Island where Suffolk County is. Then going towards New York City, is Suffolk County, Nassau County, Queens County, Kings County, a.k.a. Brooklyn, a.k.a. right before you have to go across a bridge or go under the water in order to get to Manhattan or Staten Island, which then means Jersey is the next stepping point, in which case, why would you even go to Staten Island or Jersey anyway? Because, it's just wrong. And yeah, nobody calls it Kings County anymore. It's Brooklyn, because who the hell ever thinks of Kings County? Queens and Kings. It's the way it is. And Nassau County has always had this, let's just call it attitude problem overall.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on over there? I don't know. This is the first I've heard of it, but I'm definitely going to be looking into that one myself for personal curiosity because, hey guys, that's a really bad look.
Yeah, I dropped you a link in the host chat with the
hold on. Okay, hold on just a minute. Bridget? Well, this is going to be interesting. We're having a little bit of all right, I'm going to kill the audio from Discord temporarily until we can figure out a little bit of what's going on right now. So the thing that was posted over here in the chat, Unreal Tech was asking, here's an interesting question. Can he legally order the bases to raise the flags despite the rules and regs? Basically, the president being the commander-in-chief of the military, technically he can go ahead and do whatever the hell it is that he wants to do, and he can order pretty much anything and everything because, well, it's him. But it is going to prove to be interesting to find out if he decides to do it. Now, me personally, I'm thinking it could be something as simple as he takes the oath of office, and as soon as he's done with that, turns to the microphones and yells out the order. First off, before we do anything else, I want all the flags to go back to full staff. I could very easily see that happening, but that's just me. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. All right. It sounds like we got the audio. We have the audio finally back from Discord where it got screwed up before. So let me bring that back in again. All right, you guys are back on again. Bridget, what you were talking about before, when we were talking about Nassau, the audio got wrong.
I heard it, yeah.
So
that was weird.
Yeah,
I thought it was just over at my end.
No,
because it happened before.
Yeah, this is the problem that we've got. Every once in a while, Discord. It's good service. Don't get me wrong, but there are certain things that happen, and it is what it is. So now that I got everything back into place over here, like I said, what I was saying is that he might just decide to, as soon as the oath is given, he might just turn around and order them before anything else goes on, and just, because he can, and yell out to have the flags brought back up again. He could technically do that, couldn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he could. He might. He probably will.
Yeah, he probably will.
Unless somebody grabs him by the shoulders beforehand and says, "Don't do it."
Yeah, I don't think that's real likely.
I mean, he acted that way when John McCain died, and he got so much grief from both Democrats and Republicans that, the flags had gone to half-staff over the weekend, and then he was like, no, raised them back up, but the Capitol flags were still at half-staff, and then he got a lot of grief and then decided to lower them again because, Trump is Trump.
Yeah. Now, the funny part of it is,
if it's not celebrating him, the dime store dictator doesn't want it to happen.
Yeah, and the funny part of it is, I'm kind of wondering if the president decided that he wanted the flags to go back to full staff, follow me on this one, could the Capitol building and the Supreme Court not agree and not follow that, being that they are co-equal branches and have their own way of doing things?
Well, I'm not sure how they officially do proclamations, so I'm not sure if it would have to be an official proclamation and what the mechanisms are for that to happen.
He's going to be sitting there in the Oval Office. There's going to be one of those black folders come across his desk, and it's going to have what he wants on it, which is that the flags are ordered back to full and cannot be flown at half-mast again, or whatever wording he wants to do it. And he's going to sign it and hold it up, and he's going to look like the smart little cherub that he is, and I'm just going to want to wipe that smile right off that dime store dictator's face.
Yeah, that's probably the way it's going to have to happen. I don't think just him saying on the microphone would count.
Probably. But let's also be clear about this. We are very much expecting that whatever the text of the proclamation is, it will be fifth grade reading level at best.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost certain of it. I'm sorry. Was that a dig at the president? Whatever. There is also
probably sign it in Sharpie too.
Of course.
Everything in that stupid Sharpie, that first term. I don't think he could use a fountain pen to save his life.
Well, we could use a fountain pen to save his life. I mean, if we needed to do a tracheotomy, and you've got nothing else to use. I mean, it worked on MASH. You could. Well, was that a ballpoint? You know what? It was a pen. I'm sure if worse comes to worse. I've seen some chatter out there where people have been suggesting not to attend the inauguration. I, however, am going to suggest a complete opposite. I'm going to say that the entire area should be completely covered with people in Klingon regalia, so that as soon as he shows his face, they can all give him the discommendation that he richly deserves.
He doesn't need to have people there in Klingon regalia or Star Trek regalia or Star Wars regalia or any of the science fiction fantasy series regalia or Ren Fair stuff or whatever. All they need to do is cross their arms with that grunt and spin that 180. That's all that they need to do.
Yeah.
And especially if they did it in mass.
That's basically the Klingon way. So that's what I was talking about.
But
anyway.
The problem is, I don't want to not look at him because he might do something even more stupid.
That's fair.
Well, I've just seen other
same time,
calls to action to order free tickets to the inauguration. Everybody is entitled to order 2 each, and then just not show up.
I'm sure that nobody would ever do something like that. That would be wrong.
Yeah, so I'm not suggesting anything of the sort. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
It's okay. Just making a note for myself that I need to get the video for Klingon Discommendation so folks can see what that looks like, just because it's
But in all
cool.
seriousness, if anybody is planning on being in that area, be very, very, very careful.
Yep.
Not because
there's going to be shenanigans going on, I'm pretty sure of it, and bad actors and all sorts of people looking to start trouble. So I would personally avoid the area.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that the average Democrat Party person would try anything.
No.
It's the MAGA nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Those people would do shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
We know more about the guy that shot the CEO than we do about the two that shot at Dime Store Dick. We know far more. Those two, we know almost nothing about it. I'm pretty sure both of those things were set up and the poor kid was killed in order to make a point. And I did say that that shot was going to win him the presidency. I did.
It's possible. It's kind of hard to know for certain, but there's a greater than 0% chance of that one. So, yeah. We've had more than our fair share of going ahead and talking up the annoyance factors. So let's go ahead and talk about a good president. I'm not going to talk about a great president because, unfortunately, Mr. Carter was not a great president by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm one of those people that's going to go ahead and say, I'm actually sorry for that. He was a good man. He was a soft-spoken personality. He was an affable person. He was a loving husband. He was a military man. And he committed himself to a lot in the line of public service. He served various different areas in Georgia and eventually becoming president, which some people were fairly surprised about. But he was a good man when all is said and done. So there are a couple of things that he did while he was in office that I want to very specifically hit on. And the most notable one that I still remembered to this day, and I'm still pissed to this day that it was never followed up on, other than to renege on it. He put solar panels on the White House as a way of undercutting, to emphasize the idea that we should and can begin to get out from under the energy problem that is OPEC and the Saudis. And it was up there. And the next president elected, through shenanigans, I might add, decided to have him removed. I don't remember what the exact reason was, other than perhaps because it just didn't like the way that it looked. But he believed that one of the things that we needed to do as a nation for our own betterment was to stop relying on energy coming from outside of our country. And one of the best ways of doing that? They may not have been the best units by comparison now, but they were up there, they were doing. And it was, if nothing else, a really good way to try to encourage renewable energy sources that could actually do good for the country, for the world. I was really happy for that. I don't think that you were, I don't believe that you were alive when President Carter was in office.
Well, let me check that on Google.
He would have been through 1980, 76 to 80, if I recall.
Elementary school.
Okay.
French immersion elementary school.
Okay.
Kindergarten to grade 3? Yeah, to grade 3.
So no real knowledge or memory.
Some memories. I have more memories of everybody else. And I have a story about his successor. My father decided that he was going to post on his Facebook about how Reagan was the last time the adults were in charge of the White House and the government.
Oof.
So, of course, I had to quote Arlo Guthrie, and it's on the Precious Friends album with Pete Seeger. Reagan was a fine president. The more he slept, the safer we were. I got banned from my father's Facebook, so I know my father is a redneck Republican. He's also finally admitted it to me. He said he was independent and liberal his entire life, trying to hide what he was. Yeah, right. He's MAGA, I can tell. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if not him, then my half-brother, my uncles, or cousins were part of January 6th. Because they all live in that area. It's not far from where they live, you know? I'm pretty sure they're stupid enough to have been part of it. But I can't prove it.
Damned annoying, to put it mildly.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm really glad that I'm not on my father's Facebook, because I would be telling him off a lot right about now.
Yep, that's fair. Bridget, how about you? Do you have anything that you specifically remember from Mr. Carter?
Camp David Accords.
Oh.
Back in 1978.
Oh shit! I'd forgotten about that.
Between Egypt and Israel.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So, quick rundown.
Quick rundown is that there was 12 days of discussions at Camp David between Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Begin, and they ended up signing a peace agreement, an Egypt-Israel peace treaty. And as far as I'm aware, that is still in effect and has not been contravened or anything. So
that was
huge.
That was goddamned huge.
That explains the Seals and Crofts song about Egypt, Israel, and America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would do it. God, yeah, man, because say what you will about him being a fairly milquetoast personality, definitely not a firebrand type like others. When the man had a cause that he believed in, he was kind of hard to turn off. He did not pull people in by charisma alone. If he believed in a cause, oh man, he was just full on in, and yeah, join up or don't, just. But if you think it's worthwhile, come join me.
If I remember correctly, he was somebody that did a lot of work for Habitat for Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually a charity that I like, except for the rules that they have to go by up in Canada. I was on disability up in Canada, and I could not qualify for Habitat for Humanity because the rules that I was under meant that the government would put a lien on my house. So I could not get a house from Habitat for Humanity. And I would have volunteered my ass off if I could have gotten a house that way.
Yeah. Habitat we're going to hit momentarily a little bit a little bit more so. But before we finish off with some of the stuff that he was doing while he was in office still, I want to also touch on something that he wanted to do, if I remember it correctly, and he got stymied by Congress. And it's one of those things where it's just like, well, how important was that really? It was a nothing thing. He pushed for making the conversion from the imperial measurement system for everyday use to the metric system.
I remember that.
I remember that so clearly and vividly because I had one of those traditional metal lunch boxes in school. Aladdin, matter of fact. And it was one that had all of the stuff that showed the metric system as compared to the imperial system, so that you could, have cutesy stuff so you can see where the differences were. How do you, what does the thermometer look like on both sides, and everything in it. And when all is said and done, it's kind of like, yeah, but is that really a big life-changing thing for, the country as a whole? Yeah, it would have been.
It would have been. It actually would have been beneficial because a lot of the medical conversions would have been easier. The milligrams per deciliter versus millimoles per liter, that one. Oh, I had a stupid endo. I don't know what those numbers are. And even though I had the numbers on both sides of my chart that I was handing her, this is what my morning measurements are. I don't know what those measurements are. I don't know. I don't care. First morning blood sample.
Yeah.
The conversion is 18. You convert one from the other by either dividing or multiplying by 18. If it's 4.5, you multiply it by 18 to get the American number. If it's 180, you divide it by 18 to get the Canadian number, which would be 9 or 10. 10. I can do math, right? And I actually find it funny because some of the medical people around here do use metric when it comes to taking certain vitals, and they tell me what it is, and they expect me not to know, and I just kind of blink at them and it's like, oh, yeah, I've got a fever. Or, yeah, and I say what the weight is in the other measurement factor, and they just kind of look at me like, how do you know this, Canadian?
Yep.
I've had to do this my entire life.
Yeah. And the thing is, for everyday life, so to speak, would it really make that much of a difference? And, like I said, yeah, because believe it or not, in the back end of everything, it's all standardized on metric anyway. So, it would have just been, following the rest of the world. Maybe saying that, the USA following other countries, gauche in and of itself. We always think, we're the rah-rah group out there. Everybody should be following us. And last I remembered, I believe that there are only currently 3 countries that still use imperial measurement and not the metric for day-to-day everything out there.
And it's the United States is one of them.
Yeah. Libya, I think, is one of the other.
One of my problems about that is that the speed limits are too high. If they were metric, it would be a whole lot safer. Leave the numbers the same. Just make it metric versus miles. Metric kilometers versus the miles. Because 25 kilometers is a hell of a lot slower than 25 miles, and the kids would be safer. And the highways would be safer. And no, we're just going to keep on going.
Yeah, and up around the border on both sides. Depending as to which side of the border you're on, the big speed limit sign will have it in whatever your country's main speed is, and then there will be a quarter size sign under it that says what the conversion is afterwards, so that you've at least got something to go by. And if you look on your speedo, you will see you've got whatever your main measurement system is, and then smaller under that is the other. You might notice that on your speedo. I know that I've got it over on mine, and whenever I have Waze running, it's always a metric anyway. By the by, who was it? Stephanie put it over here. I'm surprised it wasn't UTech that said this one. Stephanie pointed out there was a space probe that crashed because the Yanks used imperial and the others used metric. The worst part about it was the scientists who forgot which conversion to be using. The fact that they even had to be using conversions in the first place was the death sentence before it was launched, and it was a costly Mars probe that litho-braked something serious.
Shit, there's a plane that crashed. Actually, it didn't really crash. It actually landed mostly safely.
Yes.
But it had the same problem. They filled it with liters when they should have filled it with gallons.
Yep.
So they had 1/4 of what they needed.
Yep. And they ran out of gas and they had to land on a highway, if I remember right.
I'm going to have to find that for you.
Yeah.
Because it happened in Manitoba. Gimli Glider. It has to be the Gimli Glider.
It could be. But, yeah, in the tech area, the medical tech area, I should say, Bridget, it seems simple enough to just, you learn it all in the international standard system, and then everybody's even across the board. I mean, it just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to take somebody's temperature, what should you be measuring it in?
Metric.
So it comes out to, 38?
37 point something.
38. I'm rounding to 38 because there are variations in everybody, but basically 38. I know. Don't give me shit about it otherwise. But
I know it's like 37.9 or something like that, but yeah.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
Some famous unit conversion errors. September 23rd, 1999, NASA lost the 125 million Mars climate orbiter. Threw it off by 60 miles. Tokyo Disneyland Space Mountain on January 26, 2004. An axle broke because of the conversion from the master plans in 1995 from English units to metric. The Gimli Glider.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we've got several of these in the notes so you guys can take a look at that too. Cause,
I've already added 2 of them.
Yeah.
Gimli Glider's a good one.
Yeah, and the reason why we don't do metric in the day-to-day here in the U.S. is because Congress basically just said, this is a stupid thing, so we're not going to fund it.
Actually, it was because the units were being sent to America from France, and pirates sank the boat.
Yeah, well, I mean...
That's the original reason.
Yeah, which that is actually a thing, because once upon a time ago, they actually literally had a hunk of metal, for lack of a better way of describing it, which was, quote unquote, the kilogram. There actually is a hunk of metal that is the kilogram, but unfortunately, it's not exactly as stable as we once thought, because they had several the kilograms for various different countries, and then they brought them all back to make sure everything was right. And some of them have had atomic decay different from others, so they're not exactly, quote unquote, the kilogram anymore. So could you lose your kilogram in a boating accident, yeah, you could have, and you did. So yeah, there is that.
No, that actually
That's why
happened.
we have 1 liter and 2 liter soda now.
Yeah,
1 liter and 2 liter what?
Drinks.
soft drink,
Right.
carbonated drinks, soda, cola, Coke, Pepsi, White Rock.
That's why it comes in 1 liter and 2 liter bottles now, is because of the attempt to to move us towards metric.
Yeah.
And that's the only holdover that we have.
Yeah. So
Right, I got a bunch of those in the other room.
yeah.
I really should be drinking my Canadian Dry. Canada Dry.
And for those of you that are,
then we used to get it in quarts.
oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, milk.
Yeah, we used to have quart bottles in 64. They had 32 and 64 ounces bottles of Coke in glass bottles back before the conversion.
I don't remember those myself. Okay, this is where it gets really weird because for me, soft drinks, carbonated beverages, I remember, the pull tab cans and then the conversion over to actual recyclable aluminum pop top cans. And for those of you that are wondering what's the difference, it's the difference between cutting up your feet at the beach because somebody was a litter bug versus not. Some of you are old enough to know what I'm talking about. Versus, I always remember colas being in liter. From when I could remember that, you'd get larger as opposed to getting them in cans. But dairy, milk, is almost always in gallon, half gallon, and quarts, and pints. And yes, I know alcohol is typically supposed to be sold in pints. I know, leave me alone, fuck off, I know.
Canadian gallon, the Canadian gallon, half gallon, which is 2 liters, or the 1 liter, and the 500 milliliters. I actually really do miss the bags of milk, because the bags of milk would keep the milk fresher. But BC got rid of it back in the 90s, early 90s, and that was probably the stupidest thing BC could have done. And if you want fresh milk, go to Sprouts, because Sprouts has glass jars of milk.
But I'm surprised you don't remember the 32-ounce glass bottles of Coca-Cola.
I remember the 32.
Yeah, I don't. But then again, we didn't really get soft drinks in my house when I was growing up. Every once in a while, there would be a thing where my dad would end up getting a flat. I don't know what the right term for it would be. Half case of 6-pack cans of specifically White Rock colas, because there was a distribution place up where he worked, and he was able to be in there and get. But as far as to just getting colas, we very, very, very rarely did. So I don't really remember any of them in glass containers very specifically.
Well, we didn't buy a lot, but when we would go get our hair done at the salon, the vending machines would have usually Coke, Pepsi, and Sprite, but you could get a 6-ounce glass bottle, a 12-ounce glass bottle, a 16-ounce glass bottle, and then if you went to the grocery stores, they had 32-ounce glass bottles.
Okay, I know the ones that you're talking about. But yeah, again, I don't ever remember getting.
You had to pay a deposit on the bottles, and then you got the money back when you brought the bottles back to the store.
Yeah.
Yep. Mexican shops here will have the Mexican Coke as well as Costco, and those come in glass. And I remember the glass bottles from the 1970s, 1980s. The reason why I remember them so clearly is because I was visiting my grandparents in Ontario, and a Coca-Cola shipping truck with those roll-up sides turned the corner where my grandparents lived, and all of the bottles empty. Built. I think he was avoiding a crash or something. And I went and grabbed the broom from my grandpa's storage and went and helped clean up. So did about 7 or 8 other people.
Damn, that hurts.
We all swept it up. No, they were empty. So
No, I get.
Coke was
Coke
was sacrificed.
I'm just thinking from the standpoint of the driver. Poor guy. I mean, having to explain afterwards when you get back what happened to half of your load. Funny story that. Just feel bad from that way. But yeah.
That happened, and it was. But I also remember drinking Coke from bottles, and occasionally I will get myself a Mexican Coke and just kind of sugar level. What sugar level?
Yeah, there's some grocery stores you can get those at. I can get them up over here also, but after Inauguration Day it may get a little squirrely, but we'll deal with that later. But yeah, the whole thing, circling back to the reason why I was actually bringing this one up, is that, like I said, President Carter was pushing for that, and it was going to be a thing. Congress, being quote unquote in charge of the purse strings, decided not to fund the initiative, so the initiative sputtered out and died because it was not funded.
Was Congress and or the Senate at that point in time Republican led?
Doesn't matter.
Republican majority?
It
kind of does,
okay.
Because that seems to happen.
No,
the Democrats might get the presidency, but they don't get the House and the Senate, and so the Republicans just basically stall everything and force the Democratic president to work harder for things for the people.
No, you're right. You're right. And that is the thing that happens. I was saying doesn't matter because at the time it was not nearly as egregious as it is now. At the time, yes, there was yelling and screaming, gnashing of teeth and all that kind of shit going on. But ultimately, when you got down to it, there was a lot more, is this going to be helping the people when all is said and done? Okay, we'll grudgingly go along with it, but we're going to want something back later. As opposed to, nah, screw you, man, we're just not even going to do it.
Is what they are right now. Back then, they were more, we'll do it, but we're not going to like it. And they would gnash your teeth and dig in their heels. Now, they throw it up. Now they throw up walls. They throw up, literally, they basically throw tantrums. I'm amazed that the Speaker of the House was voted in so quickly.
Well, considering the fiasco that happened last time out, I'm pretty sure that everybody was just like, look, we got to get this right. Let's get it done now. Thanks. Stephanie has also pointed out something, by the way. Way back when I was a child, you got pennies for returning empty bottles. Okay, let's face it. Pennies in the UK were, well, I mean, it was not just a measure of a bicycle, but worth something. Milk was also delivered to your door, and you recycled the bottles by leaving the empty ones for the milkman to collect. My grandmother's porch still had the milk container outside for exactly that purpose, although I can't ever remember there being milk delivery. So
I can remember milk delivery both at my mother's house and at my grandmother's house. I was little by the time it was gone away, but I remember the bottles.
Yeah. And remember, folks, if you want a completely fresh milk, you can go and you can get that raw milk from pretty much anybody that's looking to infect people with bad diseases and whatnot. And if you don't want to get those diseases and you don't want to pasteurize your product, you can always just put it on the stovetop and bring it to a very light boil. Very, very light. And you're fine then, maybe. Probably not, but just don't do that. Don't take nutrition advice from a podcast, by the way.
Yeah, up in Chilliwack, BC, and on Vancouver Island, there was a dairy called Island Farms, and you could actually go to the dairy store and buy milk that was bottled that day.
It's doable.
And the ice cream, oh, the milk, yes, it was slightly more expensive than Dairyland or Lucerne, but Island Farms was good.
Now, I think it's fair enough that we finally get away from the stuff that happened during President Carter's term, and we talk about the legacy that he has left behind. Because after he left the presidency, he did what his Christian conscience told him to do. And as someone who has been an atheist for long enough, I can honestly say I respect the fuck out of that man because of what he did, because his religious conscience told him to. He was the same type of Christian that Mr. Rogers was. Not denomination-wise, but it was a matter of, if I'm going to be religious and I'm going to share what I believe is the love of my God, I'm not going to tell people. I'm going to do. I'm going to show. And people come to whatever their conclusions are, but I'm going to do what's right. And he did. He did not, to the best of my recollection, he did not start Habitat for Humanity. But he went in there and he did not do anything other than go in there and swing a hammer and build walls designed to hold up the structure of a house to keep people safe from the elements. The man, into the last parts of his life, he was still swinging a hammer. There is a picture meme of him from a couple years back where he had an accident. He got himself bashed up pretty good on his face. I think he got a bloodshot eye and hit his face or whatever, hit his head, whatever the hell it was. And I forget exactly what it said, but it was effectively, Jimmy had an accident. Jimmy banged up his face, but Jimmy's back on the job building houses to support people. Jimmy's 90, however the hell old he was at that point, 95 or whatever the hell it was. Be like Jimmy. Honestly, of all of the religious people that we have heard of in modern day, Bridget, I'm going to hit you first. I ask you, have you heard even rumors of anyone besides Fred Rogers who epitomized the expectations of what the good Christ, the good Christian, would do with their life?
No, I mean, I guess he was actually better than Mr. Rogers, and Mr. Rogers is pretty up there.
Damn straight.
And one of his goals that I'm so sad he never lived long enough to see was the eradication of guinea worm disease, but it's really, really super close to being eradicated.
Which disease?
Guinea worm disease.
Oh, the guinea worm, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw Yeah.
There were an astronomical amount of deaths from that, and that was one of his goals, was to eradicate it. And there have only been, let me see what the latest numbers are, but I mean, it's close to being eradicated.
Yeah, the guinea worm disease, there was a listing in the Wikipedia article for Jimmy Carter. I did see it. Roughly what I remember was it was several million deaths, I want to say 30 years ago. And we are down to, I think it's something like 25 last year in the wild. Something like that.
14.
14, sorry.
14, yeah.
So
Sorry, I'm still fighting bronchitis.
no, so we can't eradicate that one yet.
I know.
No.
I posted several links in show notes. He got the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002.
Yeah, he was a good man. But yeah, as far as what should a Christian life of service look like? I'm for anybody that's listening, I'm sorry, I'm gonna do the visual thing. I mean, there it is. I mean, how do you? How do you look at what a man like that did and not come away from it and simply be inspired to be a better person yourself, you know?
You are a maniacal narcissist with psychopathic tendencies and on the onset of dementia, and are also losing control of your lower body.
Okay, now we can talk. We can talk all we want about Kenneth Copeland or Joel Osteen. That's neither here nor there. But I'm sorry. That's just
But he even lived a modest life. I mean,
he did.
His house that that I guess is going to go to one of his kids or grandkids, or go to his foundation. I don't know. Appraised for like $176,000 recently. I mean, it was just
small potatoes.
Yeah.
He, if memory serves, he was the first president that that declined Secret Service protections after he left office. Just don't worry about it. Don't need it. Don't want it.
I think they still protected him just because.
It's entirely possible, but he forego it.
He might not have had the same amount of protection as, say, Obama needs, but he definitely had at least one person there to protect him.
I'm sure there probably
he
was.
He didn't want the trappings of office.
Yeah. He just wanted to go back to just me, and he did. He really did, and he. I don't want to cry. Fuck. And he was with his wife through the end.
Yep.
She did not spend a single day not knowing his love.
Damn straight.
And unfortunately, he suffered over a year not knowing hers.
He was a good man. I do not say that easily and lightly. You guys have seen me long enough. You know full well. There's only a handful of people that I've ever had that kind of... Any time that I've talked about how someone is, Fred Rogers, absolutely one of them. One of the golden examples of who people could be, should be. And I'm having a hard time saying President Carter. I know it is the correct honorific, and you would typically use it the first time, and then afterwards it would be Mr. I know that's the way it's supposed to operate. And I don't want to say ex-president. Jimmy was something special, man. I mean, I looked over some of the stuff that was listed for him over in the Wikipedia article. Did you guys know that he wrote books?
Mm-hmm.
He wrote them. He wrote like a 35 question mark. I forget exactly how many it was. And part of it was because he needed the money, because he was running out of money because of how things were going for his primary business, which was, yes, the whole thing about being a peanut farmer. He wrote a lot of stuff, and some of them were kids' books too, man.
He pardoned all the Vietnam War draft invaders. All the guys who did not want to go and serve, he pardoned them all. I don't really blame them for not wanting to serve for Vietnam. It's other wars that, even though the draft was still there, that they should have. Vietnam was
Political.
brutal. It was brutal.
Vietnam and Korea were political, period.
But Vietnam was extra brutal because of the traps and the tunnel rats and
19 goddamn years old. For anybody that's wondering what that is, the average age of the grunts there in Vietnam was 19 years old. Average.
yeah, my father did not actually serve overseas, but he did train people. And that's all I know of his record. Because there's a big black censor bar through his record.
Yeah. Rosalind Carter was also just... I don't have as much memory of her in particular, other than just seeing her near with her husband in whatever the public venue was, and she almost always had a smile, and she was always just kind of there with him. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I mean, even as a kid seeing them, it was like, yeah, they're a couple, yeah, and there was just something so natural about how they were with each other. I'd like to think that I had that with my wife, but holy shit, man, it's just them.
If Fred Rogers wanted to teach children that they were unique, that the color of their skin didn't matter, and that they deserved to be loved, Carter was teaching people that they deserve to be healthy and housed and fed. And fortunately, we're looking at a potential president-elect that is probably going to be eroding a lot of things that the American public needs.
We'll have to do what we can about that, but that's for later. Bridget, as far as I mean, I know that I ask you about the stuff that we don't militarily, and I know that a good portion of it is just, I don't freaking know. There's always talk that ends up happening. I mean, the quote unquote the water cooler chatter stuff that happens about every boss. Do you have any memories or stories or anything like that about how people ended up talking about how, well, it was different when, 2 administrations ago or the last time out, or, for when Carter was around?
No, I'm not that old.
No, but I mean,
And I
not
know
that
in the military in general, discussing a sitting POTUS is a no-no. So there would have been like no talk. And in the time that I was in, there was no discussion of politics one way or the other that I ever heard.
No, that's fair.
I've been racking my brain for something about Carter as a
But,
Canadian citizen, little kid, listening to the news, listening to stuff with my adults around me, my grandparents, my mother, my aunts and uncles, and I don't remember anything bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember anything bad. Reagan, however, Nixon, however, even though I was a little young for Nixon, I remember the adults basically sneering his name, Nixon.
And
I don't remember
with
and
reason.
anything bad about Carter.
The adults, at least the ones that were around me, made fun of Jimmy Carter and, made fun of the Peanuts and made fun about his brother, Billy and Billy Beer and his teeth and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, very unseemly. It was all personal stuff. It was making fun of because it was basically bully tactics. It was all high school bully stuff. Oh, look at you making fun of your name or stuff like that. And it's, it's like, what the frick? Even like like I said, even for me as a kid, I heard this stuff and it was like, what the fuck, guys? It's just, I mean, what is the guy doing right? That's all that's really needed, right? I mean, what the fuck? Yeah. And those were also the years where I very specifically, and I've talked about this one before, where I remember it was the beginning of the political rhetoric of they are tax and spend Democrats. Very specifically remember it from that era. And again, even as a kid, here I am. I'm hearing this and I'm thinking, but if you're going to spend money, you need to use taxes to get it for the government to have it to spend it. And if you've got the money that you were allocating to have, it's because you've got something to spend it on. So that pipeline has already been established. So what's the complaint? That's how it's supposed to work, right? I mean, yeah, 10 years old, 11 years old. I've got the beginnings of, an economics degree going in me, which, spoilers, never got an economics degree. All right, leave me alone.
Jimmy Carter helped clean up Canada's Chalk River nuclear accidents. I think he was in the armed forces at that time.
Yeah, he was Navy.
1952, so yeah, he would have been in the armed forces.
Yep.
I've been looking for anything that he did with one of our prime ministers. I think Trudeau Sr. was prime minister at that time.
Well, if you pull up a newsreel and you can't understand what the guy is saying, yeah, probably Trudeau.
No, he did not visit Canada. Nixon and Reagan did, but not him or his predecessor.
Wow. That says something right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You guys and your immigration policies probably need to tighten up the who's allowed into the country now. Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah, technically he's not allowed in the country.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big thing.
It's gonna be.
Man.
Obama visited at least 3 times.
Yeah, well, that was
Bush Jr. 4 times? No, 3 times. No, 4. Clinton a whole bunch of times. 5 times.
I think it was still
Sr. 4 times.
I think it was still funny that the prime minister and then Obama had a little bit of jibing going back and forth about hockey, so that was a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as to, leaving a legacy behind, like I said, Habitat for Humanity is a difficult one to get away from. And yeah, he had other things that he did, and he was instrumental in making happen and starting. But the fact of the matter is, the man cared about humanity. He really, really did. And he showed it. He did it. He, a house valued out at, under $200,000. Modest, yeah. And man was kind of quiet spoken. Didn't need to yell and scream. Didn't need to. Man didn't need to swing his dick to get his point across. All right. I mean, if we're gonna call it as it is, let's just call it like it is. The man had. I was gonna say, the man had class. But I'm gonna say something I normally don't. I'm gonna take that back. But not because the man didn't have class, but because for me, the legacy that I have for him in my head supersedes the concept of having or not having class. He was just... I keep coming back to saying it again and again and again because I don't know how else to word it. He was a good man. How weird it is for me to be, without the words to describe better what I think of this guy. I'm no wordsmith or nothing, but I mean, damn. I'm not used to being in this position.
Okay, so Obama had bets with both Harper and Trudeau Jr. about who was going to win what hockey, whatever. When it came to the 2010, it was Harper, and Canada won both, so Obama had to ship over beer. Trudeau and Obama had better jabs. And I actually linked the little news blurb, and Trudeau's reply was perfect. Doesn't matter which team wins. Most players are from Canada.
This is true. It was true. I've prattled on way too much.
There's good diplomacy between Canada and the United States, and there's bad diplomacy. And I'm looking at tariffs. I'm looking at people possibly wanting asylum in Canada, or for that matter, Mexico or some other country. I'm looking at the United States getting screwed for the next 4 years because the ego that's coming into the office of the presidency doesn't know when to shut up, doesn't know when to stop. 51st state, them's fighting words.
Yeah, we've got other places that might benefit from that. Washington, D.C. comes to mind, and Puerto Rico comes to mind, but that's a whole other thing.
Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands.
And
besides that,
Samoa.
yes, and besides that, Canada wouldn't be the 51st state. Canada would be 51st through 64th? And would probably be cut down even smaller because there's no way that any state would be allowed to be bigger than Texas.
I'm gonna start winding us down a little bit early, just from the standpoint of, I've talked way too much. I feel like. I'm wondering,
Uh-oh.
Having seen what a life and a legacy has been left behind by this gentleman, how he weathered the storm of the slings and arrows of other men, and dealt with it all with a grace that is difficult to even quantize. What attributes from this man would we want to see come back? Not necessarily for the immediate future, but what qualities did he have that you guys can think about right about now, where you would say, you know what, a leader that had this equal quality to them, yeah, I'd believe in them, I'd trust them, I'd go with that.
I'm looking at the live chat, and Stephanie, this is why the Canadian Premier, Monsieur Trudeau, went to the USA to talk to the felon. They do not allow convicted criminals into their country, which is true. Tech nearly got a spit take on my thingy, my microphone protector. Yeah, President Musk really needs to study up on the United States, says Tech. Like, so close. So close.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And yeah, Stephanie is right. I hardly noticed President Carter when he was president, but I've known and admired him for the work he's done since. That's exactly how I feel as well. Don't really remember him when he was in office, but hearing his stuff over the years. I actually thought he died back in 1995 because, he was that old. But no, he trudged on and hit 100. Good for him. And he's what a president should do once they're out of office. Not try and amass as much money as possible. Not tweet and Twitter and Truth Social and get people up in arms. No. Not hide away in someplace. Go out and make sure that you're still helping, still doing something. Because after all, you were the president. You can get people coming to you. Let's build somebody a house. Let's build a dam. Let's fix this electrical service thing in this area. We can do it. Let's fix these roads.
Let's eradicate a malady.
Yep. Do you know how close they were to getting rid of
How about you,
polio?
Bridget?
But he did allow for the start of microbreweries.
Wait, pardon?
Yeah, he signed a bill into law in 1978 to allow home brewing and small-scale craft brewing to operate legally. And so it made it legal to sell malt, hops, and yeast to American homebrewers for the first time since Prohibition.
Holy shit, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So he's responsible for microbreweries, and yeah.
Well, damn.
I guess we're going to have a toast to him later.
Yeah, right here.
We know how that usually ends for me.
I know, but I just thought that was an interesting little factoid.
I didn't say right now. I said later.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you haven't been around for the creamsicle beer.
I think I was. That was about a year ago.
It could have been. It was bad. It was bad. Just trust me, folks. Creamsicle beer?
Don't do it.
No. No. Mm.
However, chocolate wine, depending on which version you get,
Yeah, but that's not beer.
is liquid sex.
Okay. Now, see, you... Okay. we no. No, we're gonna...
It is.
Be that as it may, it's just another thing for another time. Stephanie, however, had an interesting piece. As far as to what kind of quality we'd like to have back for somebody to find worthwhile, honesty and compassion is what was listed.
We had a president in the White House within the last 20 years that was compassionate, that was tech savvy, science savvy, and had a gorgeous wife. Anytime he screwed up even minutely, the Republicans and the press were all over him as to how bad of a president he was. How dare she show her arms? How dare she not wear a proper dress? Michelle Obama was a gorgeous first lady. And Obama was smart, geeky, savvy. Hell, he even had an anger translator.
That was actually really good.
That was funny as hell.
That was actually really funny. Yeah, we're gonna make sure that one's in there too, because that was good.
I'll let you find it.
That's fair. Just write it in there so that I can go hunt it down.
Oh, fine. I'll go find it.
You just type it in the chat so that I can find it afterwards is all. Tech
I can find it.
Tech had also pointed out, of course, he wants people to homebrew beer. Peanuts are a staple snack for beer. And you know, you write that, and funny enough, I'm remembering how peanuts in, what was it, peanuts in Coca-Cola, peanuts in Pepsi, was supposed to be like a big hot thing. And I'm kind of wondering, does anybody do that with beer, or make beer out of crushed peanut? I'm kind of wondering if that's even possible to do, kind of a thing. I don't know. Figure it out.
C-SPAN. This was hilarious. Watching Obama bring out his anger translator.
It was good
perfect.
times. It's good times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Bridget, I just want to. You wouldn't have any problem now that you've been out of service for a number of years at this point. But for you, knowing that, how do I word this? If the best of what you can think of, the person that he was, and obviously we've got so much more that we know about his after presidency. Do you kind of wonder that maybe, just maybe, the higher up military brass could have been You know what? I'm digging up the wrong tree on this one. I'm digging up on the wrong tree on this one because I keep forgetting he was Navy. He went through the military academy. Because I was thinking about it from the terms of, he was otherwise a gentle person, a genteel individual. He was kind of soft spoken. He really wasn't. I can't, for the life of me, even picture him being a firebranded or like outwardly angry personality. And I was thinking that, I kind of wonder if in the early days the top brass might have been, kind of poo-pooing on him and not taking him seriously for a little bit because of, the level of everything. And I'm, like I said, I'm suddenly, I'm completely forgetting. He was military. He was Navy. Jesus.
Yeah. I think he was on a nuclear sub.
And see, that's the thing that kills me. It's one of those pieces about him that I completely don't even think about. Where there are so many others where Eisenhower, we know full well he was a general. We know that he served. We also, there are several others in history where we know full well, yeah, they served in the military. I mean, famously, George Washington, we know he was a general in the army. He is still the, oh God, what the hell, 6-star general. I forget what the terminology is. George Washington is considered and will always be considered, according to the government, the highest general there has ever been and will ever be, because it's just the way that it is. But holy hell, I absolutely keep forgetting that he was a military person. Mm-hmm. So you know what? I completely change over the question that I was going to ask you now. What the hell does that say about somebody for their lifetime of achievement that's a piece of their history that's just ephemeral because it was just never brought up as a thing. It was not touted as big time defining factor about the whole man, and so much else of him was. Holy smoke,
He served because he served, but it didn't make him. It was a part of his life's history, but it wasn't part of his legacy. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, how wild is that? God, it's so weird to me.
Yeah, it's part of his history, but not part of his legacy. What he served. Even though he's part of the cleanup in Canada, but
That's all right. Wow.
That's probably why he got cancer.
yeah. He's probably like Bob Ross. He got out and decided that instead of yelling and being loud at people, he was just going to be quiet. He didn't need to raise his voice anymore. Probably what happened to Carter.
Well, Congress didn't want to work with him. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
They wanted Ted Kennedy.
Okay,
and he wasn't Ted Kennedy, so...
Yeah. Tech and I are pinning something for next time. Tech says in the chat, Navy personnel spoke a lot of read between the line statements when Trump was first time in office to prevent getting in trouble. They're doing it again. So I asked him to explain more, and he's going to probably do it next show or the show after. Explain what's going on.
Yeah, knowing full well that there's always going to be things that we know, and this goes for all of us. We know, and we don't voice for various reasons. Now, am I saying anything about nefariousness? No. Because of security, maybe no. But there's always going to be certain things. So if there's stuff that can't be said, that's just the way it's going to be for whatever reason. So just want to make sure that we're all clear on that one.
I don't know if you're familiar with Propublica or not.
I have heard of. I don't very much know very much of anything about it.
I mean, they need funding and support, but I suspect after a piece that they dropped today that they're going to be a target. FBI is probably going to go after them.
Every single news company that is not mainstream media bowing and licking his shoes is going to be gone after. One way or the other, they're going to go after.
They had a very in-depth, and it takes, I don't know, probably 40 minutes to read. I mean, it's a huge piece, but they did an investigation and verified all the sources and all of that. And some of what was in there was rather alarming.
Ooh, okay, you gotta share it.
I will. I will have to go back and find it, but I sure will. And they are reliable. They do investigative journalism.
This is why I keep tabs on Canadian news media, CBC, Global, CTV, the Tyee, and a couple other sources in Canada, because they have interesting points of view, and because they're looking at the United States from outside, they can see things that American news media might not be able to see. I also go to the British stuff as well.
The title of this piece is called The 3%ers, Oath Keepers, and Militia Mole. And it's about a guy who infiltrated all of those movements and got a lot of information, and they're like, if you happen to get this, they're probably going to kill me and I'm going to have to flee the country. But he tried to get various media outlets to pay attention to what was going on, and they were blowing him off. And I just put the link in there, but that's a very long read. There's like 10 sections to it, but it's not behind a paywall or anything.
I'll probably read it over the next couple days. I'm looking at a very interesting 4 years. I'm hoping the military generals and admirals have a clue and won't follow any orders that could be considered illegal after the fact. I'm hoping that somebody shakes some sense into Mango about tariffs, because that's going to hurt the American public more than anything else. I'm hoping that he doesn't have a first lady. Where's Melania been? I'm hoping that Vance doesn't become the next president. I don't think he could handle the job.
That's fair.
Well, I think that Musk is the one calling the shots at this point, and he's definitely an accelerationist.
Musk can't be president. He can't be Speaker of the House because that's in line to be president. He can't do this.
He could be Speaker of the House. He could, yes. It doesn't have
but he not be. Speaker of the House is within the line of succession.
Right.
But he still could be Speaker. And there was a very good piece that Timothy Schneider put out talking about why Trump will keep Musk around, because Musk has money and Trump does not have money. And so to go after all these people and investigate them and sue them into oblivion, he needs Musk. So Musk is the one with the power in this dynamic. And Trump knows it.
I'm going to have to talk to my friends at SpaceX and Tesla. See what they say. Probably be the same thing they said last time. Musk is a jerk.
Yeah, he is a jerk, but he's the one that's got the power right now, and he's interfering in other countries as well. So there you go.
Yeah.
Musk is a danger. Bezos is a danger. Zuckerberg is a danger, not just to the American public, but to the world. If they start throwing their money around, Gates, probably not, because he actually tried to be somewhat humanitarian, but he still has way too much money. But Elon is playing fast and loose with Trump, and I think Trump's actually getting bored of him.
Yeah. How that's all going to play out, we can shelve for another night, because we're pretty well covered.
I mean, right now we're officially in oligarchy. Could be a cacistocracy. Timothy Schneider says it's definitely not an incoming administration because they're not going to administer shit. He says it's a regime.
And that all we'll have to be dealing with at that point.
And he's coined it Trumpo Muscovia.
And Monday is when the electoral votes get confirmed. And if Trump is not confirmed as the president via the electoral votes, it's going to be mayhem.
But
either way, it's going to. The Tesla Trump hotel thingy, that manifesto was rather disturbing.
I didn't even read that. I know it's out there, but I didn't read it.
He's calling for all of the Democrats in Congress to be exterminated and calling for action, and said that they have to be purged. And hopefully it will be peacefully, but if not, then it might have to be done violently. And calling for, semis to come in there and block the place off and have people infiltrate that place and get rid of all the Democrats.
Are you talking Musk or just the guy that blew up the truck?
The guy that blew up the truck.
all right.
But that was his message.
We'll table all this for the time being. Maybe we'll pick it up again next week. Maybe we'll end up coming up with something else. I've still got a topic that I am working towards making happen. That's going to be another thing. Before we get out of here, Bridget, anything left over for Mr. Carter very, very quickly before we go ahead and close it up? Bridge?
I'm glad he got to live long enough to do the one thing that he wanted to do, and that was to cast his vote for Kamala Harris. And that was his goal, was to live long enough to make that vote. And he didn't get his wish to see her inaugurated, but he got to make that vote.
I think that if she was actually the one being inaugurated, he would still be hanging in there.
He might.
And he would probably die the day after, but he would have seen her get inaugurated. Instead, he did the next best thing. And Mango Mussolini is having a temper tantrum. I want my flags at full mast.
I'll finish off with this then. The idea that he would have held on just that little bit longer to see Kamala Harris inaugurated, I love the idea that I don't. In honestly, of course, we know full well it's a pipe dream. The light shuts off when it shuts off. It's just there's no way of really knowing. And I say that as someone who is in the back half of his term. So excuse me. But you know what? I love the idea that a soft-spoken man from Georgia who literally operated the family peanut farm, who tried to do right, who did do wonderful things, that maybe, just maybe, even at 100 years old, he could have and maybe would have flown for the inauguration to be there, to congratulate her personally. I think that would have been an absolutely amazing moment if it had been able to have happen.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if she was the president being inaugurated, he would have lasted, and every single other president other than Mango would have been there to shake her hand. And I'm going to give the last word to Tech. Trump wishes he could still have a full mast. Ba-dum-boom.
I was thinking it. I think we all were. But
Stormy can testify.
I'm giving it to Tech. I'm giving that praise to Tech. Because it's right there in the chat.
And as the last piece then, Mr. President, thank you, sir. You did good. With that, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Everybody, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives. You got something to think about for the week ahead. Over there in the chat, as mentioned, Tech, yeah, you didn't pop in, but yeah, you're right. It was probably better that you not accidentally fall asleep. We appreciate it. You take care of yourself, man. We'll see you soon. And Stephanie, glad you're able to make it. You take care of yourself, too. And as always, just thank you. Bridget, well, yeah, glad you're able to be here. Oh, and who have you got to go ahead and rip into maybe just a little bit?
I'm gonna have to go with Apartheid Clyde. Oh, Muskrat.
I had not heard that particular version of it before. I kind of figured that's who you meant, but okay. Wow.
Space Karen.
No, I got you. I got you. Like I said, I'd not heard that version before. That was actually pretty surprising.
If
He
you're going to
does
ask,
not like being called Apartheid Clyde. I can tell you that.
cool, I'll use it.
I don't think anybody would, but fair. Thank you, honey.
For me, the persons or organizations that I want to yell at is twofold. One, the Canadian government for not getting their act together and either doing a vote of non-confidence or Trudeau stepping down or dropping the writ or anything like that. And secondly, Elections Canada, if any of the above happens, I want my ballot. I didn't get my ballot last time. I want it this time.
Fair. Thanks for being with us, Io. Appreciate it.
Bridget.
So,
At least I got to see you guys.
yeah. It's good to have
And
you.
you got a cheering section too. Bridget.
So, as always, if you'd like to be joining us, please feel free. Probably the best way is getting getting in touch with us over there on the Discord server because, well, it's the easiest one to get somebody to notice you if you need a voice for any reason. We'll be more than happy to help you out a little bit. If you'd like to be in touch with us otherwise, contact information is also over there on the website, holycrapthepodcast.com, and we will do our best to be there for you because that's what we said we'd do, and damn it, we got through it the last time. We'll just go ahead and we'll do it again. As the last item, before we get out of here, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it last week. I'm going to mention it again this. For a number of years, I've been a DJ in Second Life. And for a number of those years, I was also doing fundraisers for the Roswell Park Cancer Institute, where I would do a radio stream fundraiser in Second Life, and was kind of accumulated into the 36-hour radio streams, which actually tended up to be more like 40 when all was said and done, because it had a 3-hour show before the clock actually started. And for a couple of years, I hadn't had it in me to do. It's just been tough, been hard on me. And being that this is going to be the 20th year since my wife's passing, I'm giving serious consideration to doing it one more time. Making a big production out of it, as big as I can. Because I want to, for as long as I can remember doing these, I've wanted to blow out of the water the one that they do in Second Life for the American Cancer Society. Because fuck them. Some years ago, they decided that they were going to forego taking a multi-thousand dollar donation because it would have forced them to publicly acknowledge and thank the organization that was responsible for it, which was specifically an atheist group. As far as I'm concerned, I would much rather donate directly to a research hospital instead of them. And Roswell Park was the one that was helping my wife. Yeah, ultimately, it wasn't successful. But such happens. We ended up at the bad end of the bell curve. Again, such happens. But I'm giving serious consideration to coming out of retirement and doing this one last time. And if I do it, I'm going to also simulcast myself, but simultaneously stream myself, my face, and talking. Not the music, because can't do that, over on Twitch simultaneously. So that I could conceivably have people on with me, because I could also plug in Discord and stream myself to people so that they can see the face of who it is that they're helping, or at least one of those people. If I'm going to do it, I will let you know. I'm very much wondering if I should do it, never mind if I can, because I know me. I would caffeinate my ass like you wouldn't believe. But we'll see. I will keep you apprised. I will let you know what I decide very soon. But no matter how this plays out, thank you for supporting me all these years. I appreciate it. So with that out of the way, thank you all. We will see you minimally next week. So until that next time, as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And as always, like I said, it will be 20 years this spring. And I am still in love. Well, Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.